All right, let's dive into one of the most talked about, most controversial books out there. Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. Is this thing a masterclass in navigating the world, or is it just a dangerous handbook for manipulators? Let's break it down.
You see, Greene's book isn't some dusty history lesson. It's positioned as a very practical, very modern guide. A lot of people treat this as the rule book for understanding the unspoken and, often ruthless power dynamics that are playing out all around us, at work, in our social lives, even with family.
And this is the big, uncomfortable question the book just throws right in your face. Its whole argument is that the game of power is always being played, whether you want to admit it or not.
So what is this game he's talking about? Well, the core idea of the book is that our modern society is basically structured like a giant ancient royal court. Everyone is constantly jockeying for position and influence, just like old-school courtiers trying to get closer to the king or queen.
This setup creates what Greene calls the courtier's dilemma. Think about it. Back in those courts, you had to appear totally civilized and polite, but to actually survive and get ahead, you had to be incredibly cunning and strategic, always outmaneuvering your rivals without ever letting them see your true intentions. The book's big claim is that our world works exactly the same way. And to really set the tone, Greene hits you with this powerful quote from Machiavelli right at the beginning. It's a pretty stark warning, right? If you're trying to play nice all the time, you're pretty much guaranteed to get run over by the huge number of people who aren't. And that leads us straight into the central paradox of this whole philosophy. There's this huge, massive gap between how we're all supposed to act and the cold, hard reality of what it actually takes to get and hold on to power.
So, on the surface, you've got to appear civilized, decent, democratic, and fair. That's the mask. But according to Greene, underneath that veneer, the person who's actually winning is cunning, devious, strategic, and subtle. It's like Napoleon said, you got to have an iron hand inside a velvet glove.
And here is the real kicker. The stakes are incredibly high. According to Greene, if you refuse to play the game, you're not actually sitting it out. No, you're just making yourself a pawn for someone else who is playing and who's playing to win.
So, let's actually look at the laws themselves. These are the 48 tools Greene offers to help you navigate this, let's call it a treacherous world. We'll just check out a few to get a feel for the different flavors they have.
First up, law number 2. And wow, this one really just captures the book's deeply cynical worldview perfectly. The logic here is pretty cold. Hiring your friends just blurs the lines. It creates jealousy and resentment. But a former enemy? Well, they have a lot more to prove, and they often end up being way more loyal. It's all about using predictable motives instead of the messy, unpredictable emotions of friendship.
Okay, now for a much more aggressive one. This is probably the most infamous law in the entire book.
Greene's reasoning here is just ice cold and brutally clear. If you leave even one single ember glowing, a fire is eventually going to break out again. A rival you only half defeat will recover and they will come back for revenge. The only way to guarantee your safety is total annihilation, whether that's in spirit or influence.
And for our last one, let's jump all the way to the end, the final law, which shows a much more fluid and strategic side of the book.
I mean, this is a brilliant idea. It's about adaptability. Be like water. Never take a fixed shape. Never have a predictable plan that your enemies can get a grip on. If you're constantly shifting and flowing, you become impossible to predict and impossible to defend against.
So when you pull the camera back and look at all 48 laws together, you start to see a clear philosophy take shape. It's all about becoming a master of indirection, of strategy, and of emotional control.
You see these same principles woven through the whole book. Conceal your real intentions. Always say less than you need to. Let other people fill the silence and reveal themselves. Master the art of timing, because that's everything. Recreate your own image. Don't let other people define you. And always, always plan all the way to the end.
But it makes you ask, why write a book like this? I mean, what was the author's real motivation? Well, there's this fascinating clue, and it's not hidden in one of the laws, it's in the book's acknowledgments.
Wow, that one sentence just reframes the entire book. It suggests that maybe this wasn't written as a manual for predators. Maybe it was written as a defensive guide for the people who have been victims of these power plays. Maybe it's meant to be a shield, not just a sword.
And that leaves us with a big question at the end of it all. Is mastering the stuff about ruthless ambition, or is it about understanding the game so you can defend yourself from the people who would use these tactics against you? The book never really gives a straight answer. And you know what? Maybe that's the whole point.